Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. We are the group 3 and for today we are going to tackle or discuss our topic which is rabies. So, our group consists of John Andrea Almalvez, Gianna Luis Ramirez, Maria Helen Rosario, and Daryl Tabua. For today, we are going to discuss 5 topics, namely, number 1, what is rabies? Number 2, what are the symptoms of rabies? Number 3, who is at risk? Number 4, the prevention. And finally, number 5, the treatment for rabies. So, what is rabies? Rabies is a preventable viral disease most often transmitted through the bite of a rabid animal. The rabies virus infects the central nervous system of mammals, ultimately causing disease in the brain and death. The vast majority of rabies cases reported to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, each year occur in wild animals like bats, raccoons, skunks, and foxes, although any mammal can get rabies. The rabies virus. The rabies virus belongs to the order Mononegavirales, viruses with a non-segmented negative-stranded RNA genomes. Within this group, viruses with a distinct bullet shape are classified in the Rhabdoviridae family, which includes at least 3 genera of animal viruses: Lysovirus, Ephemerovirus, and Vesiculovirus. The genus Lysovirus includes rabies virus, Lagos bat, Mochula virus, Dovenhage virus, European bat virus 1 and 2, and Australian bat virus. So for our next reporter, Miss Jan Andrea is going to discuss regarding the topic of what are the symptoms of rabies.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. I am John Andre Almalvez and I am here to tackle the symptoms of a rabies. What are the symptoms of rabies? First symptoms is flu. It is an infectious disease caused by a virus. Second is weakness, feeling of tiredness and lack of energy. Next is discomfort, pain, itching, or burning sensation at the site of the bite. Fever. You may have a high body temperature. Headache. It is a pain in the head. And lastly, prickling or itching at the site of the bite. Symptoms of rabies may progress to confusion, cerebral dysfunction, anxiety, agitation, insomnia, and hydrophobia or fear of water. As the disease progresses, the person may experience delirium, hallucination, seizures, difficulty swallowing, and difficulty breathing. This is my report. Thank you for listening. And next slide for our next reporter, Miss Maria Helen.
Thank you, Ms. Jan Andrea, for a very impressive detail of signs and symptoms of rabies. I'm Maria Helen C. Rosario, and I'm going to confer to you about the part of who is most at risk of rabies. First of all, rabies is most common in rural parts of Asia and Africa, especially in the Philippines, kung saan maraming kalat at palaboy-laboy na mga aso sa kalye, and the owners don't usually take their pets to vets because of the expensive cost of veterinary medicine. Who is most at risk of rabies? Number 1. Children are often at greatest risk from rabies. Why? Because they usually play with the cats and dogs. They also kiss the pets sometimes, and rabies transmitted through saliva. Usually, the RHU would ask you, how did the cat or dog bite you? It's because animals only bite people when provoked. Kadalasan sa mga batang nakikipaglaro sa aso or pusa, hinihila ang buntot, pinapalo ng sticks, or even binabato ng sleepers. So the bite was provoked, especially to children. You usually get rabies through the bite of an infected animal. If a break in your skin comes in contact with the spit of an infected animal, you can get rabies. If the pet wasn't taken care of, there's a higher risk of passing the disease. There are 3 categories of bite. Category 1 or non-bite exposure, usually by licking the eyes or nose or any open entries on the skin. Ito yung mga dinidilaan, hinahalikan, or sometimes the whiskers na accidentally natutusok sa mata. Category 2, scratches, unintentionally provoke, or ito yung mga kinakalmot ng aso or ng pusa din. Category 3, ito yung big bite with major exposure and continuous bleeding. Ito yung mga sinasakmal ng mga aso kasi nakikipaglaro or nasasaktan yung aso. Number 2 in our list, people who are regular contact with nature. Examples are hikers, adventurers, and the likes. And ranger also is example of people who are regular contact with nature. Why? Because wild animals are not exposed to vaccines. Number 3 on our list, people whose work is more likely to come into contact with rabid animals or the rabies virus. Examples are wildlife journalists, those people you watch in National Geographic. That's my favorite, National Geographic. Or wildlife officials who patrol national park and nature conservationists. Yan ang mga examples ng number 3. Thank you, and please welcome our next reporter, Mr. Daryl Tabuwak.
My name is Daryl Salvador Tabuwak. I am here to discuss on how to prevent rabies from your pets or animals. You can take a number of steps to rabies-proof your pet. First, make a routine trips to the vet with your pet and make sure that all of your dogs, cats, and hamster are up to date on their rabies vaccinations. Second, neuter or spray your animals to help lessen the amount of homeless pets who might not receive regular vaccinations or proper care. Finally, since these animals can be sick or unvaccinated, call animal control to have them all removed from your neighborhood. This is my report. Thank you guys, and next slide please for our next report, Miss Maria Helen.
Thank you, Mr. Daryl, for a marvelous information about the prevention of rabies. Hi, I'm Maria Helen once again, and I'll talk about the treatment for rabies. How rabies is treated. There's no treatment for rabies once symptoms appear. Rabies disease is 100% fatal. Why is there no cure for rabies? There is no cure for rabies once it's moved to your brain because it's protected by your blood-brain barrier. Your blood-brain barrier is a layer between your brain and the blood vessels in your head. Its job is to protect your brain by keeping toxins and other dangerous substances from getting into your brain from your blood. It's like a very fine strainer. Researchers aren't sure how, but rabies locks this barrier down even further, so medications that might destroy it can get through. What should I do if I've been bitten by an animal? If you've been bitten or scratched by an animal, wash the wound right away with soap and water. Use 10% povidone iodine solution if available. Contact a healthcare provider of your Department of Public Health or RHU as soon as possible. Tell them what happened and give them as much information as you know about the animal. Was it a wild animal or a pet? What kind of animal was it? How was it acting? Ask your healthcare provider how best to clean the wound and whether you need a rabies vaccine. If you've been attacked by an aggressive wild animal, contact animal control. What medications use if one does come into contact with a suspected rabid animal? If you're bitten or scratched by a wild animal, there are steps you can take to prevent rabies. Medications prevent an infection from traveling to your brain if you've been exposed to rabies, or post-exposure prophylaxis (PEP). These medications are often combined. Rabies vaccine. Your healthcare provider will give you 4 shots over 14 days. If you've already been vaccinated before exposure, you'll only need 2 shots. The vaccine teaches your body to destroy the rabies virus before it enters your brain. Human Rabies Immune Globulin, or HRIG. Your provider will give you shots around the wound. HRIG gives you antibodies or molecules that fight infection that will destroy the virus near the wound until your body takes over. You shouldn't get HRIG if you've been vaccinated before exposure. That's all, guys, for my part. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge Miss Gianna for a lovely introduction of our group mates and all the parts of our group reporting. All things considered for this topic, rabies, we hope you learned something from us today. Thank you.